These are images coming into our newsroom. The Israeli government is reporting that Iran has carried out firing missiles at Israel. I believe these are images of Tel Aviv. Is that right, Paul? Yes, these are live images we are getting in of Tel Aviv. You can see the stream of rockets in the air. This is incredibly disturbing, folks. This is something that we have been reporting on all show long since about 10 a.m. Eastern, when U.S. officials from the White House said that they had intelligence that the Iranians were preparing for an imminent strike, a ballistic missile strike against Israel. This is not the first time this has happened. We saw missile strikes against Israelis from Iran back in April, but the U.S. was there to defend Israelis and there to protect the country from this attack. But now this has come much more quickly than many had anticipated. We know that Yoav Gallant, the Minister of Defense in Israel, has spoken with his counterpart, Lloyd Austin, in Washington, and they are preparing together for what a defense program might look like. What is the preparation? And the preparation needs to come into play now, because if this is accurate, Iran has already launched. There you see another ballistic missile, a strike coming in to Tel Aviv. So this is a fast-moving story, folks. Forgive us. It is breaking live with you and with us. We are trying to make sense of what is incredibly dangerous, scary moments in the region right now. Remember, in the background, the war in Gaza continues. There are conflicts escalating in the West Bank. We have the situation on the ground now, on the ground in Lebanon, with the Israeli incursion taking place and those airstrikes still going back and forth between the Israelis and Hezbollah Islamist militants operating in Lebanon. We know that buildings in Beirut have been struck today. This is a fast-moving situation, and we're going to keep an eye on it for you. We've been speaking with folks in Washington, in London. We are trying to get voices on the ground in Beirut to give us a sense of how people are dealing with this crisis. Now, as you can see on your screen, it's almost 8 p.m. at night in Tel Aviv, and people hopefully are at home. They've been told, the Israeli military has told the public to go to their bomb shelters as rockets from Iran are being fired at Israel. I'm just going to quickly take a look at the wires to see the very latest that we are hearing. A witness who has spoken to Reuters news agency, in fact, multiple witnesses say they've heard the sound of explosions heard in Jerusalem. These images on your screen are Tel Aviv, now getting reports from Jerusalem that they are hearing explosions as well. Let's take a look at what we're hearing from the United States. President Biden, the report is that the United States is prepared to help Israel defend against these attacks and protect American personnel in the region. On that point, just a short while ago, we reported to you that the United States, the White House, has told all of its personnel in Israel, in Gaza, and in the West Bank to get underground, to find shelter immediately because of how quickly the situation is escalating there. Let me just take a look at this. Iranian student news agency shares videos of missiles flying above Tehran's sky. Again, CBC News cannot independently verify some of these wires that we are getting. I want to be as transparent. Right. Israeli media is reporting that Iran has launched over 100 missiles fired at Israel. Let me repeat that for you folks. This is the latest wire. And if I pause for a moment, it's because my senior producer and I are trying to do the best we can to get you the most up-to-date and most accurate information we can. So, missiles seen over Jordan. This, according to two Reuters witnesses. Missiles seen over Jordan. Again, bringing in the conversation of a wider regional conflict. As we just heard from retired General Joseph Votel just a few moments ago, we are in the midst of a wider regional war that is taking place. Again, the Israeli media is reporting that Iran has launched more than 100 missiles at Israel. That is a tremendous amount of firepower. Each one of those ballistic missiles, should it hit a target, a populated target, would be absolutely devastating. Keep in mind, the Israelis have an Iron Dome, but it has been under constant barrage of missiles from Hamas and Hezbollah and from the Houthis in Yemen. So they've got a sophisticated military and they've got the support of the United States. But at some point, things get weakened and you only got so many resources, and all of these attacks coming from multiple locations is going to take a toll, certainly on the morale for many people in Israel who are so tired of the ongoing war, the ongoing attacks, and they want the attacks on them to stop, and they want attacks on their enemies to stop. Everybody in the region who is not linked with a military organization or military group is hoping for peace, for some stability. Remember also, folks, that in the background, perhaps the biggest part of this story is that there are still more than 100 hostages whose whereabouts we don't know. All we know is that they are still in Gaza in some form. Some analysts have predicted that they're probably, most of them, dead, which is absolutely devastating if that is true, because it has been almost a year since the October 7th attacks. Now, again, there's a new wire, folks. Let me read this to you. If you're just joining us here on CBC News Network, we are showing you a live shot of Tel Aviv, and we're keeping you on this shot because the Israeli military has said they believe more than 100 rockets, missiles have been fired at Israel from Iran in just the past few moments. The Israeli military says sirens sounded all across the country of Israel. So those alert sirens go off, folks, and depending on where you are in the country, you need to get underground, you need to get in a bomb shelter, you need to shelter in place, you need to get to a point of safety. This is a country that is living in terror, and the trauma of the October 7th terror coming up on a year now. Loud explosions being heard in the Jordan Valley. This again from Reuters news agency speaking to witnesses. All right, folks, we have been listening in as our Defense Minister Bill Blair has been giving us an update on the Canadian perspective on what's going on. Just to bring you up to speed, we are showing you a live shot of Tel Aviv almost 8 p.m. at night local time. The reason for that is that the Israeli government and the IDF are confirming that they believe 100 plus missiles have been launched by Iran to Israel to attack Israelis. So this is a huge escalation in this fight. We are now going to turn to Chris Brown, who I believe is joining us on the phone from Jerusalem. Chris, can you hear me?
I can, Natasha. I'm just actually in the bomb shelter underneath our hotel, and the windows around me are rattling from the sounds of explosions. This, for many Israelis, is going to be an absolutely terrifying night. Obviously, from where I am, I can only see and hear so much, but for the time you were talking to the minister there, I can tell you that I heard non-stop explosions in the sky, and they would have, very difficult for me to tell whether they were incoming or outgoing, where the Iron Dome that was intercepting missiles or some of the various other levels of missile interceptors that the Israeli air defenses have, or were they hits from these incoming missiles? I think what was surprising, let's say, we all got alerts on our phone, if we had an Israeli SIM card, which I do, from the Central Command, and they basically urged everyone in the entire country, I've never seen that, to get to take shelter immediately. And then within minutes, that's when the air defenses kicked in and we heard explosions. If you go back to the spring, when Iran also launched an airstrike, a number of airstrikes with drones and missiles and so forth, there was quite a bit of a lot of lead up to that. It took hours in some cases. Mm-hmm. This was not that. This was a very fast, very quick, and I'm sure for many people, as I say, profoundly scary. And if I could just go on for one more quick second, please, Natasha. Yes. Just immediately before these sirens happened, something else kicked in. Everyone started getting reports of a mass shooting in Tel Aviv, in Jaffa, and it appears, as best we can tell, that there were at least 2 gunmen who were on a light rail train who killed people on that light rail train, stepped off, and then shot people on the platform. And look, right behind me, you can hear more. I don't know if you can hear the sirens going off again. That's going to signal more air defenses. But So it looks like, and obviously we don't have confirmation of this, but it would appear that there were two events that were very, very close together. The shooting in Tel Aviv and now all of these missiles coming in.
You're absolutely right, Chris. So let me bring you up to speed. The latest Reuters wire that's come out, and I don't know if you have access to the wires down where you are, but they are confirming that 4 people were killed and 7 wounded in that shooting that you referenced in Jaffa neighborhood in Tel Aviv. They said 2 shooters were neutralized and that the families of the victims had been notified. I know Fawaz Georges is hanging by, and I thank Fawaz so much, but I just want to ask Chris one more thing, which is, who is down there with you, and what is the conversation you all are having while you're waiting for this uncertain moment to play out?
This hotel is frequented by a lot of journalists, so there are other journalists here. There are some Israelis and other people who had been coming to this hotel for business or whatever. There were some aid groups as well, I noticed. But obviously, it's very, very tense. Most people are glued to their phones, just trying to look and see and follow, because, as I say, you can feel the earth shaking. And so the question will be, when everyone comes out, just how much damage was done. Already there are some indications that there were direct hits in places like Tel Aviv. We don't know about where I am in Jerusalem. This has been a day of spiraling developments. I think the officials with the IDF have been on TV or released videos at least 3 or 4 times today, warning people that something like this might be coming. There have been all kinds of reports, confirmed and unconfirmed, that perhaps the Iranians had given some countries notice that something like this would happen, and that's what sort of triggered all of this. But it's going to take some time to sort out, and I think right now, I think people are just quite stunned that this is actually happening, and that this war, I don't know what any other word you would use to call it, has escalated to the point that it has.
Chris Brown in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, forgive me, in Jerusalem, taking shelter. Thank you so much for making time for us, and stay safe.
Okay, thanks. Bye, Natasha.
Bye.